Shalum, mashpaka. So, I'm going to try to make this quick, which y'all know I talk a lot. But anyway, two things. Well, it's a few things that I've been sitting with Yahuah with. And one of those things is that there's two titles that I don't mind being addressed by, and that's witness and servant. Servant of Yahuah, witness of Yahusha HaMashyach. And with that, with me sitting with Yahuah on that, what he's been showing me is our function. Our function is to testify of Yahusha. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why that's important is because it's not conversion. There's a difference between the function of Yahshua and the function of the church, which is what a lot of us came out of. We're not here to convert. We're here to testify, which is two different things, because Yahuah is doing the drawing, right? So with that function of being a witness, serving underneath Yahuah as a witness to his son Yahusha HaMashyach, he's the one doing the drawing. So as we're testifying, he is the one drawing those hearing the testimony to Yahusha. And with that, not everybody that hears the testimony will be drawn. And so the reason why, again, that this is important is because it helps cut down on the need to push when you're telling the truth. I think that's something that many of us, I can't say all of us because I don't know all of us, but many of us struggle with. And I don't think we struggle with it in a sense of pride. I think we struggle with it because we don't want to see people perish. I really do believe that that is the main reason why a lot of us struggle with that. We don't want to see people perish, so we just keep pounding away, hoping that we'll get that harvest out of that person, when that's not what we were called to do. We were called to testify and let Yahuah draw them. So a lot of us will be seed planters. Some of us will be used to water that seed, but it's always Yahuah that gives the increase. And so it's really learning our role, learning how we fit into Yahuah's plan, into Yahuah's will. So again, I will be called a servant of Yahuah and a witness of Yahusha HaMashyach. And with that, another thing that Yahuah has been talking to me with, and I'm going to put the link to the podcast, is I actually made a podcast episode that was kind of alluding to this, but it goes a little bit deeper. But Yahuah was talking to me about where it says the power of life and death is in the tongue. And I'm just paraphrasing. And those who love it shall eat the fruit thereof. I want to say that's Proverbs 18:21. Yahuah has really been talking to me about that. And if you've listened to some of my most recent, if you've watched some of my most recent videos, you'll know that I am seeking Yahuah on his way of things and attempting to put down the things that we think are righteous. So for example, a lot of us are waking up from Christianity into the truth, right? Which is the reason why I'm always using Christianity as an example. But I know that there's people that are waking up that weren't Christians, but I'm just using this as an example because it's a good majority of us that are coming out of Christianity into the truth. So with that being said, for instance, when it comes to the Shabbat, there's a lot of argument about when the Shabbat is and what calendars and so on and so forth. And what I've been asking Yahuah, because a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of people are basing when they have Shabbat off of the Gregorian calendar. So what I mean by that is the Gregorian calendar says that this day is Friday and this day is Saturday. So based off of that, people are saying, okay, sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday is the Shabbat. And here's the thing. It's necessary for all of us to grow in this at Yahuah's pace. So hear what I'm saying and not what I'm not saying. What I'm not saying that is wrong if you're currently in that place, because Yahuah will grow you if you keep seeking. You feel me? just hear that. But what I am saying is continue to seek. Don't stop where you're at thinking that that is where you need to be if you haven't sought Yahuah for what he says. So I've been asking Yahuah, like, so when is the true Shabbat anyway? What is the true Shabbat? Little things like that. And I'm asking him those things because, again, Ruach HaKodesh started to reveal to me that there are some things that you do subconsciously, don't realize that I'm doing it. And he said it was true for a lot of us. We're still doing it with a foundation of what the world said and not what Yahuah said. And again, our Father is very patient and gracious with us. So with that being said, he didn't show it to me as, oh, this is what you're doing. He showed it to me because he was like, daughter, like I asked him and he was like, and before I even asked him, he put it in me by his Ruach. Like he told me through his Ruach to ask him of these things, which is why he is so amazing to me. But, and when I started asking those things, that's when I started really sitting and thinking, okay, well, what else am I doing that I have a base of the world, not realizing that I do? So that's where he has me right now. So a lot of it, like for instance, going back to Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it shall eat the fruit thereof, right? So I remember being taught in the church that means to, speak positive things over yourself versus speaking negative things over yourself, because whatever you speak is going to happen. And Yahuah had to show me that's not what he was talking about. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what does Yahuah say life is, and what does Yahuah say death is? And the short of it is life with him, life in truth, to be a witness of Yahusha HaMashyach and to be a servant of Yahuah. That's life, because those who love Yahusha keep Yahusha's commandments, and therefore they reap life because they sowed into the Ruach. So they reap of the Ruach, which is everlasting life. So to speak life means to tell the truth, to be a witness of Yahusha HaMashyach, telling the testimony of truth everywhere you go. And we know that Yahusha is the truth. So when you testify, if you're a faithful witness of Yahusha HaMashyach testifying of the truth, you're speaking life, because Yahusha is life. But when you speak death, that is when you speak against the word of Yahuah, even if it's unconscious or subconsciously. And praise Yah that he is faithful to clean us up if we are unknowingly speaking against his word by still continuing to uphold the doctrines of devils and the traditions of men unaware. He is slowly but surely cleaning us up. So this is just me talking to you guys about what he's been doing with me. And, my prayer is that, my palal, apologies, because I'm even trying to get out of that. But my palal is for him to do the same with you all. This walk can be a joyous walk in the spirit if you let go of yourself. Now, in the physical realm, there will be turmoil. There will be turmoil. I've been feeling it a lot lately. There will be turmoil. So I'm not going to lie and say that you won't physically feel that. But even during that, in the spirit, you'll know that it's for your good. So let me give you an example from my own life currently. So yesterday, and for the past few days, actually, I have really just been pondering just all the times that I turned the other cheek, all the times that I showed mercy when the world told me not to, all the times that I showed grace towards people when the world told me not to, all the times that I loved on people that, according to the world, I shouldn't because of things that have been done to me by these people, right? And I'm not saying that I lived a perfect life and that I haven't done anything to anyone else. I have sought the Father on those things and asked the Father how I need to correct myself when it comes to those things. So with that being said, I'm just talking to you about what I've been talking to the Father about. So one of the things that I've been saying to him is just that, Yahuah, I have done these things as you've commanded me to do. So why is it that I feel like I'm always being forgotten or hurt or expected to be the bigger person? And this is just real talk. You know what I'm saying? This is just real talk. This is the real things that I say to the Father, because he wants us to worship him in spirit and in truth. So I'm not going to come to him like a paid actor and say all the right things, knowing that in my heart, what I just told you is how I feel. Because when I go to the Father about the truth about how I feel, he will then comfort me with his Ruach. You feel me? I have to tell him the truth. I have to show him that I'm sick, because only the sick need a doctor. So with that being said, he took me to Matthew 5, what we call the Beatitudes. And the one thing that he kept saying over and over and over and over again was, blessed are you when they revile you when they revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of manner of things falsely against you. And I can't remember the rest of what it says, but that kept coming to my mind over and over and over again. Another one that kept coming to my mind is Matthew 24, and I want to say it's either 14 or 15, that said, because of lawlessness, the love of many shall wax cold. He kept saying that over and over again to me. So even though in that moment when I'm being vulnerable with Yahuah, I felt broken and slightly irritated and frustrated, and more so with our people than with the world, because I know why the world's doing what they're doing. But it's a hurt, it's a brokenness and whatnot, and I'm going to Yahuah about it. And I'm being vulnerable with you all about it right now, but I was going to Yahuah about it. And even in the physical brokenness I was feeling, the Ruach was still comforting me with the word. So I still could rejoice in the spirit, even though in the physical I felt broken. You know what I'm saying? And that's just an example. So yeah, speaking life is being a faithful witness and testifying of Yahusha HaMashyach, which leads to life. Speaking death is telling lies. That's telling lies. And if you look in, I want to say it's Revelation 21 and 8, and then again over in Revelation 22, and it's either 15 or 16, I can't remember, apologies, but it talks about liars will have their place in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone. And I want to say in Revelation 22, it specifically says those who make and love the lie. And you remember Proverbs 18:21 says, and those who love it shall reap the fruit thereof, or eat the fruit thereof. So if you love the lie, and you can only love the lie if you've been shown the truth. If you don't know it's a lie, Yahuah is gracious enough to tell you the truth before that judgment comes upon you. So it's only after the truth has been revealed that the lie is truly counted against you if you continue to support the lie. You see what I'm saying? That's the faithful judge that Yahuah is. So with that being said, if you love the lie, so say you've been shown the truth, but you stand 10 toes down on the lie that you were told, then it will be counted against you, and you shall reap or eat the fruit thereof. The fruit of the lie is death. Romans 6:23, for the wages of sin is death. The wages are the payment for the sin you continue to enact. And even with that, Yahusha tells us in 1 John 3 and 4 that sin is transgression of the law. So Yahusha came to take away our transgression of the law. He came to take away our guilt against. And when you look that up, I actually made a post on Facebook about this. You know what? I might add what I put on Facebook into the description of this video so you can see how Yahuah was like speaking it to me. But when you look up the word for transgression in the Blue Letter Bible, and of course this is gonna be in the Greek because it's a Babylonian tool. When you look that up, even in the Greek, you can see it's talking about the transgression. Transgression has to do with guilt, and I can't remember the other things. You know what? Instead of me trying to explain, I'm just going to put it down in the comments. In the description of this video. But it was another word that I had looked up and I can't remember, which is the reason why I'm not going to sit here and just babble through this. But it mentioned ignorance as well. So it's you're ignorant of the law as well, basically, is what I was trying to get at. But again, since I can't remember, I'm just going to put the little excerpt that I had on Facebook in the description of the video so you can see what it is I was trying to say. And I did say that every single thing, you'll see it when you see the excerpt, but I did say that every single thing that I put up there wasn't even broken down into the paleo. You feel me? So I didn't even go that far yet. But with that being said, Yahusha took away the guilt that we had for the transgression of the law that we had committed. And then he taught us how to carry the law, how to carry out the law the correct way, the way it was always meant to be carried out, which was in the Ruach. And he showed us the different aspects of the law from the spiritual side, from the Ruachal side. And two things that stood out to me in my studies with Yahuah was that Abraham kept an ascending smoke sacrifice, and so did Masha's father-in-law, Rauel, or Yathra, Zipporah's father, who was a priest of Midian. And Midian was one of Abraham's sons from Keturah. Okay? So these are the cousins of the Israelites. But this was before Masha was given the 2 tablets. You have 2 men, and it specifically said in scripture that they offered Yahuah ascending smoke sacrifices, which when you go and look in the book of Leviticus, chapter 1, the very first sacrifice that it talks about is the ascending smoke sacrifice, right? So I just want to throw that out there. All of these things have had me coming to Yahuah and going, what don't I know? Because I know that I don't know what I don't know, but what don't I know? Because since I don't know what I don't know, I know you know what I don't know. So tell me what I don't know. And yeah. So being a witness of Yahusha HaMashyach is what we're supposed to do. And that's how you speak life. It's not lying to a person. It's not bearing false witness, because that's lying. But, if you see, if a situation occurs and you think like somebody's going through something and you think that the way to speak life to that person is to lie to them to make them feel better versus telling them the truth. Now, you should still have compassion. I'm not saying be cold-hearted and just unloving towards the person. If you're being led by Ruach HaKodesh, you can still speak truth, that's speaking truth in love. If your desire is for that person to be healed and made free by Yahusha HaMashyach, that's speaking truth in love. So your heart posture is really how you do things in love. But again, speaking life to that person in that situation, you can speak the word to them. That quite literally is the best way to do things. Speak the word to them, because that's what Ruach HaKodesh did to me when I was talking to Yahuah about how I was feeling. I told you the 2 scriptures that kept coming to my mind over and over again. That is how we are supposed to minister to one another. That's how we are supposed to speak life over one another. That is also how we're supposed to testify of Yahusha HaMashyach. Because Yahusha is also our neighbor, and we're not supposed to bear false witness. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. But I applaud that you all are having a great day, and that you're learning and growing from our Father, and that you are submitting yourself to Him and allowing Him to actually do those things that you're asking Him to do. If you're asking Him to clean up your heart, that means that you have to be okay with what comes up out of your mouth. Because not too long after that prayer goes up out of your mouth, you're going to start to see that those things that are truly in your heart, and that you're going to see them by what you speak. You're going to start having moments where things that are not like Yahuah start to come up out your mouth, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? So he's going to show you what's in your heart by having your lips speak what's in your heart. But that's a praise. That is a praise. And Ruach HaKodesh will catch you every single time it happens. And he'll say, that right there, hand that over, hand that over, hand that over. You know what I'm saying? That's a praise. So I allow that you all are learning and growing from the Father, and just really coming into covenant with him through Yahusha. Last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to go, because that word covenant reminded me of something that Yahuah was talking to me about. You know, we have to remember that that's what this is. This is a covenant. And Yahusha's not going to break covenant, and neither is Yahuah. Neither one of them are going to break covenant. So with that being said, we have to be the ones that remain faithful to them, according to what Yahuah, the stipulations that Yahuah has set forth. Because we will begin to fall away from that covenant when we start to rebel and speak death and love the lie. Much ahaba to all of you that are listening. And I really palal that you are hearkening unto the voice of Yahuah, because he is the only one that could lead you out of the prison cell that we call flesh, and out of the prison that we call time, into eternity with him. He's the only one that can do it. That's how you walk on water. Water is chaos. Yahusha walked on top of chaos. Sure-footed on top of chaos. That's how you walk on water, is being able to walk sure-footed in the midst of chaos with Yahusha, with Yahuah. Shalom.